setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And I'm glad to be back. It's been over a week since I've been on this podcast. I've been out traveling, and I've been out doing something special for a friend. I tell you, there comes a time in life where you need to stop, put the business down, and do something for a friend. And I'm going to tell you about it in just a few minutes.
World of Business and Taxes on WBT.
So I probably had one of the most difficult week that you can possibly ever experience. If you've ever had a friend who has made a bad decision and they have to serve the consequences of that bad decision, you as a friend have the responsibility to back them up, to make sure they get through the process and that everything goes well. That's one thing that I hate about the tax business, is that one small mistake can get you into a whole load of trouble. And it's really sad to see because it drains you emotionally. So I had a friend, a very, very dear friend, who made a very bad decision as a tax practitioner, and he got involved in tax fraud. Now, this friend has always been there for me. If I ever needed help or if I ever needed advice, he was always there. He was that kind of friend that you could always count on, even when the times were tough. And I've always appreciated his friendship because he was always gave me good advice, and he always knew the topic that he was talking about when it came to taxes. He was very, very good at it. But he made a mistake, and it cost him freedom, because it was the issue of the IRS that they felt that they needed to make a point out of him because he was so high profile in the tax industry. So I went up on Thursday to visit my friend up in San Francisco, and to kind of prepare him and kind of motivate him that he can make it through the 3 years that he was sentenced to a federal penitentiary up in Oregon. And I tell you, when you're under that much stress, when you know that you've sold your house to pay for your restitution, you know that you've sold off everything, you know that you've complied with every step of the way of the process of litigation, and then it comes down to that very day where you have to go serve your time. I've never had a friend who has ever been in that situation before. I've never had a family member who has been in that situation before. But when it happens, you've got to support your friends. You've got to stand behind them and give them, even though you know that they've done something that they should not have done, they are still your friend, and you still have to stand there, and you have to support them in every step of the way. At 60 years old, I tell you, I become very emotional. I become so emotional that even if I see a dog running across the street, it clicks into my mind and I will start crying like a baby. I hate getting old because of that fact. Because when you're trying to support somebody, you're trying to hold back the tears at the same time. Because you can feel their pain. You can see it in their face. You can see it in their movement. You can see it in every part of them that they are afraid of what's going to happen next. So my friend and I, we got into the car on Saturday, early Saturday morning. We drove up all the way to Salem, Oregon. And it was a tough trip. Because throughout the whole process, I've been trying to motivate him through Bible texts and through motivational quotes and everything else to keep him going and to let him know that he can make it through. He can make it through anything and come out the other side even better. I believe in that. No matter what the tragedy, no matter what the negative situation that you may be in, you can come out the other side a much better person. And so during the course of the travel and finally when we got up there, we went to church, we prayed. Excuse me. We did everything that we possibly could to make that step into that prison a much easier process. I can still see his face as he had to do a voluntary turn himself into the prison. His face was cold. It was scared. He had never been in a situation like this before. He doesn't know what's going to happen. But one of the good things that I saw when they turned over the paperwork to me and I was looking at it, and it said, "You're going to camp." Camp is totally different than prison. It is a place where you can walk freely around, you're in your room, you can watch television, you can have a job, you can do all sorts of things that can make 3 years to go by faster. But the whole point of this is I want you to know that when you have a friend and he's in trouble or she's in trouble, never abandon them. I have been in bad situations myself, business-wise. And I had no one to turn to, and I had to do it all by myself. And the people that found out that I was having trouble or that I was in a tough situation, they abandoned me. Those that I thought were my friends, they left very quickly. Never abandon a friend. Yes, they may have done something wrong, but they're going to learn from it and they're going to come out on the other side a much better person. Never abandon anybody. So he went inside, and I went out to my car. I was emotionally drained and tears were flowing down my face. And they flowed down my face all the way down to Shasta until finally I saw Mount Shasta. I pulled over to a rest there and I looked up at it and I said, "You are a mighty mountain. You've gone through a lot. And so can my friend go through a lot. And he can be a better person." Never abandon a good person. They may make mistakes, but they will always come out better if you are there for them. If you are there to advise them and to guide them and to motivate them and to console them and to pray for them, and prayer is the most important part of it all. If you are there, they will come out a better person. Never judge anybody. If they go in for a specific reason to prison, do not be judgmental. The judge has already done that. It's your responsibility now as a friend to hold them and to guide them, to pray for them, and to get them through the process. I think I've told this story before. I was in Hong Kong one time on business. I used to handle all of the audits around the world for a client company. And so in November, I would begin my travel from November and December until January. I would go from Hong Kong to Taiwan to Singapore, from Singapore to Vietnam, from Vietnam to, where else I go? China. Then I went to Ireland, and then I would go to Puerto Rico, and then I would go back to the United States and work on the factories there. But my whole job was to coordinate the worldwide audits. And my audit team back then was KPMG. But I was the advanced man that would go from country to country because I was single and no one else wanted to go because it was usually at Christmas time and families wanted to stay with families. So the single guy got to travel. So one night I opened up the drawer beside me and there was the Book of Buddha. And I just so happened to just open the book, and on that front page, it said this. It said, it had terminology of what a friendship was really supposed to be under Buddha. And it said this: a friend is supposed to give guidance. It is supposed to be there when you need it. It's supposed to give you food when you need it. It's supposed to feed you. It's supposed to pray for you. It's supposed to tell you the truth. It's supposed to tell you when you're right and when you're wrong. But then it said something else. It said that it's so difficult to find a friend that way, so you have to be a friend like that. That was over 30 years ago today that I found that book. I still have that book in my office. You can come to my office, you can pull it off the shelf, and it is marked to that specific page. Because it was about friendship and how the type of friend that you should be. And so that's the type of friend that I wanted to be to this individual that was facing a tough time of having to face prison. We have to be the friend that we can't find. That is our responsibility. So I hope that if you have a friend that's facing problems, if he's facing problems in business, or she's facing problems in business, or at home, or legal, or financial, or whatever the problem may be, do not abandon them. Stay there, stand fast, and be their friend. That's the best way. I hope that helps, and I hope that as my friend goes through these 3 years, I will always be there to provide him with support, because I know that probably if it should ever happen to me, I would like for someone to be there for me also. So I'm going to be that kind of friend that I hope someone else will be. This is Mike Lodge with the WBT.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound
Thank you for
business
listening to
and
the
tax services.
WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
World of business and taxes on